Next question. Hi, this is Jessica, CEO and founder of Joyfolie, and this is a Raise the 3 episode. Raise the 3 comes from the statistic that 3% of female entrepreneurs clear $1 million in revenue, and so we're sharing the behind the scenes of Joyfolie to help encourage other women in business and improve the statistic. And I have Nicole with me today, aka, what do you guys call her?
The big cheese.
The big cheese.
We're going to start off with our first question here. So where was your first office space?
All right, so when I started Joyfolie, the office was my house. First, it was the guest room, and that's where Nicole's office was. She was our first employee. Mm-hmm. And we took the doors off the closet and put like a tabletop in there, and you worked from the closet of the guest room.
Okay, Nicole, this one's directed towards you. What was your old responsibilities, I guess, versus your responsibilities now?
So when I started with Joyfolie in 2010, I did a few things. Mainly, I watched the kids. So that's when Mia was probably 2, and I think Aiden was 4, about to turn 5.
Yep.
At the time. So I watched the kids.
And you handmade a bunch of stuff, which you loved.
I loved hand making. Made hair clips, and I packaged up orders for handmade product that Jessica sold on the blog. And then I also answered customer service questions here and there. But mainly it was watching the kids. I was also in college at the time, so I was only working like 15 to 20 hours a week. And now I handle all of our large accounts. Just to name a few, we have Beholden, Saks, Zulily, TJ Maxx, Chasing Fireflies, and we're looking to add a few more for fall 2018.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Nicole, do you miss hand making clips?
Oh, totally, right?
Oh my gosh, I do not miss hand making clips. In
You
fact,
were so good at it, though.
Jessica doesn't remember this story, but the first day I started, she asked me to make 8 clips in 30 minutes. And when I interviewed with her, she was like, do you have any sewing experience? I was like, yeah, a little. And by little, I mean I made like a rectangular bag or something and added handles to it. And so the first day she was like, okay, make 8 clips in 30 minutes with these fabrics. And I remember she came back upstairs to the guest bedroom while I was sitting at the sewing machine, and I definitely didn't have 8 clips made. And she wrote an entire blog post about it, that training employees is really difficult. And I went home. Yes, and I went home that night, and my mom and I laughed for at least 30 minutes because it was just so funny.
Yeah. Well, hand making wasn't really your thing.
Hand making is definitely not my thing. I'm not patient. Is probably the right word. So yeah, I do not miss making clips for sure. Only memories I feel I remember are like, of course I remember everything, but like Mia cutting her hair off, and then every time I would tape up a package, I would still have scraps of her hair.
Oh, you have to tell that story. That's funny. The movie Tangled, you know, if you have, spoiler alert, she cuts off all her hair at the end. And Mia was like 3, never had her hair cut in her life, loved that movie, watched it, cut all her hair off. And I mean like a lot. And then...
So I think she did it in the guest bedroom.
Which was the office.
Where I packed up the orders. So I would sit on the carpet in the guest bedroom, and I'd tape up all the boxes in a row so I could just drop the handmade product into them and attach the label. Well, after she did that, while I was taping the boxes up, I feel like every single box would have a chunk of her hair attached to the tape, just because.
And that's where she did it.
And it's impossible to vacuum all that hair up, so it's just everywhere.
That's hilarious. Yeah.
Or like my second day there, I don't think Aiden had realized that I had started working there, so I was sitting on the floor in the playroom, cutting up this fur material to make these fur shawls, my favorite project ever. And I hear these footsteps come up the stairs, and he stops at the stairs and he looks at me, and for like 15 seconds, and then he turns around, he's like, I definitely don't know her. So I hear him go running downstairs, and he's like, Mom! And I hear Jessica go, that's Miss Nicole, she works for Joyfolie now. But yeah,
That's just, I'm sure I told him for the record. He just didn't remember.
so just things like that.
Yeah. Oh man.
Or the time that, well, this is gruesome, but when Aiden knocked all his teeth.
Oh yeah. That was terrible. We had a lot of those.
Mm-hmm.
One time Aiden was being Superman and jumping on the wood headboard like da 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 da, and then was like laughing and hit all his front teeth. And so he came running downstairs, and if you ever see those old Looney Tunes cartoons where you like open their mouth and like the teeth all fall out, and they're all like jagged, that was like 9 of Aiden's teeth. And he came running downstairs.
Yep.
Blood everywhere. And you were there working.
Yep.
And I had to
Business.
take him to the ER. Yep.
Business kept going.
Memories, that's right.
What is your favorite part of seeing Joyfolie's growth over the years?
So, Joyfolie is constantly growing. I feel like when I started back in 2010, it was the first job I'd ever had that like gave me the feels. I just knew and had faith that Joyfolie was going to grow to something exponential. So even back in the day, whenever I was just watching the kids. So, I mean, the growth back then was really quick, and everything that felt like a huge leap, I look back now and it was like a tiny step. So, I mean, the beginning was awesome, watching that growth really quickly. But now, I mean, having a team of 20 plus women and all the things that we do on a daily basis, it's just amazing to watch and be a part of.
What is your favorite memory in the first space?
So in the beginning, the company it wasn't a company, as I said earlier in the previous video, but it was based out of my home, and my children were very little, toddlers at the time, and that was exhausting, staying up late, not sleeping, and then having to worry about keeping the house reasonably tidy while employees were coming and going. And so I just remember my brother coming over. This is when the office was in the playroom, and we actually had our first run of women's boots that were made wrong and needed to be hand polished to order. So like up to the ceiling we had stacks and stacks of these hundreds of women's boots, which was also the children's playroom, and there were toys everywhere. And my brother came over, and I was like, I am so overwhelmed. And he said, why don't you just turn your garage into your office? And I was like, oh my gosh, I never thought of that. So I spent $6,000, put 3 windows and French doors in the garage. I sprayed the floors, walls, and ceiling, everything white. And my employees now had a separate lock and key where they did not have to walk through my house to get to work. And it was wonderful. And there were issues, but it was mostly wonderful. And that was a great memory for me. I remember going out there and having a glass of wine at night and just feeling like so thankful that I now had that separation that I wanted so much.
How is the transition from handmade product to full production?
So it was great. From the beginning, I've always liked the big picture, something that's new and exciting, that drives me, invigorates me. Doing the same thing over and over again is a total energy drain. So I love the new. Handmade was great in the sense that I got to be creative, but anytime I started making multiples of something, it was kind of exhausting. So while I do miss being able to touch each individual customer through a way that was so personal, I'm just so thankful that the process is faster now, and so I love where we are today. I don't know if I could go back if I had to.
Do you guys want to talk a little bit about opening a storefront?
Sure. So the office we have now has like a baby retail in the front, and it was just kind of how the space was. And actually, when I bought the office, where we are now doesn't have a lot of storage, and we had a lot of samples, and so we made it into a store just because we didn't have storage and the space was there and it was zoned commercial. But over time we found that customers appreciated online sample sales more. In fact, we're planning on doing another one last day of July, I think. So since then we've changed it and changed it again, and now the store offers a very small assortment of our current collection and some housewares too. So, I mean, one of the things that I think would really help other women in business is understanding what a 3PL is and how to use one, because the first run of manufactured product was actually before 2011. It was not Joyfolie, it was something else. The entire run came labeled wrong. So I had friends over and we drank wine and ate brownies and ironed on correct labels on like 400 units of product. But as we were packing those up, I mean, we were like 3 or 4 or maybe even 5 layers deep in my house. And I remember my mom coming over through this like maze of boxes. There were so many boxes that I couldn't even fit them in my car to take them to the post office. And my mom coming over, and there's like stacks and stacks of boxes and like a half-eaten Eggo waffle on the floor, and I was like, I'm losing my mind, this is miserable. And that's when I started to look into a 3PL, which is a third-party logistics company. And I really recommend for somebody who really loves design and hates logistics to look into that, because it's scalable and it takes that part out of your home, and you have to have inventory that's ready to ship. But I knew immediately when we did our first run of product that I was not going to ship from my house after that experience. So, and a lot of those people buy their shipping rates in bulk, so you get better rates anyway than if you tried to ship it yourself as one entity. So I highly recommend it. We can do a whole lesson on that episode, whatever, if someone's interested. So stay tuned for next week. We're going to do an office tour and also talk about some goal setting, and in a few weeks we're going to film on location at our photo shoot in